Hi, welcome to the meeting. Ms. Garcia?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. My name is Gina Hackenberg. You are my first participant. I think some people are learning how to use Zoom for the first time, perhaps.
Oh, I've used
So
it
I'm
before.
gonna.
Yeah, and then I couldn't hear you, but then I noticed that says call using the internal audio, something like that. So
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you. I'm just gonna give it 3 or 4 more minutes to see if we can get. There's a few other people registered. If that's okay with you.
that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, Ms. Garcia, I am going to go ahead and get started. Oops, looks like we've got another gentleman joining. Do you prefer to be addressed as Ms. Garcia or Brunilda?
I go by Bruni.
Bruni? Okay. Please feel free to call me Gina. And we are going to get going. I don't want to take advantage of your time and your schedule. So we're about 10 minutes after the hour. Today, what I'm going to be talking about is informational interviewing. But before I get started, I wanted to give a brief overview of PVA and our PAVE program. You may or may not be familiar with Paralyzed Veterans of America. Have you heard about us or interacted with our agency before?
No, I haven't.
Okay. We have been around since 1946. We're one of the top 6 veteran service organizations, and we are a private nonprofit. And a lot of people don't realize, along with advocacy and assisting in changing legislation for people with disabilities, we also have these other pillars of service, which I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail, but can you see my slideshow, by the way?
Yeah, I see just fine.
Oh, okay, great. So PAVE is the Employment Services Program I'm going to talk about that I'm a part of, but we also have Medical Service, Architecture Division, service officers throughout the country, education and research, which includes grants, and then our legal services. All right, so the PAVE program is Paving Access to Veterans Employment, and I am one of the voc rehab counselors that's a part of that program. We actually have 6 across the country, along with 2 employment analysts, and we serve all veterans, not just those with disabilities. And we also serve transitioning service members, their families, caregivers, focusing on overcoming barriers to employment. And I think what really makes us unique is that we focus on one-on-one relationships, and we consider each of our clients a partner for life. So it's not just, hey, let's do your resume and send you on your way. We really try to look at the big picture and create a holistic approach. And then say a person wants to advance their career further down the road, they can come back to us at any time and we'll work with them again. So it's not just a brief interaction. All right, and this shows you our different locations across the country. I am personally in Atlanta, and our headquarters are in DC, but you can see we're from coast to coast. I cover the Southeast. Pardon me?
That's where I'm located at, in Washington, DC.
Oh, wonderful. In the heart of it all, right? All the action. Really. So PAVE Connect is actually a new initiative that we've started in the last month and a half, and it's these virtual meetings that we're having right now. So we're going to be doing a variety of topics that's going to evolve and grow, because we really want to meet our clients where they are. We work with a lot of people with mobility barriers, but also people that may be currently working. So these kind of sessions can be done at home or on your lunch hour and on your phone. It can be really flexible. So we're just trying to reach more people in ways that appeal to them. The other interesting thing is we're going to be growing by offering sessions with specific employers. So if a client or a person is interested in learning more or getting in, so to speak, with a particular company, they could join one of those sessions and understand their culture and how they hire and what they're looking for in new employees. So those will be starting soon. So if you don't have any general questions, I'm going to jump into the main topic at hand.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
All right. In informational interview, a lot of people, excuse me, hear the word interview and think formality, stress, this type of thing. But an informational interview is actually supposed to be an informal way of connecting with somebody who works in an area that's interesting to you. So perhaps you want to change careers, start a new career, or perhaps specialize within your career field. A great way is just to go straight to the source. A lot of times you're not going to find information online that's really up to date and very specific to where you live, like the city and how the industry is progressing in your area. So this is an effective research tool, and it's not an interview. You're not asking for a job. This is to gain information from somebody in your field of interest. So people say, what are the benefits? You're really getting firsthand knowledge, as I mentioned, straight from the source. The realities of what it is to do that job in that field, in that industry, in that particular position. Some people do this to advance. Some people are not sure if they want to go into a particular field. I know a lot of folks I've worked with in the past may have said, oh, I want to be a teacher. I want to do education. And then once they do a little bit of interning or speaking to people in the field, they realize it can be a lot different in reality than it seems when you're doing your degree work, because you have to deal with a lot of other stressors with administration and parents and that type of thing. So you get knowledge of not only what a typical day is like, but also the education and training that employers are looking for. The insider knowledge that I think is really valuable is really especially true in industries such as information technology that are constantly changing. So it's good to go to a person that's doing that job in real time and understand how those credentials and certifications are evolving and changing. All right, who should you contact? People think networking is a lot more complicated than it really is, and I try to encourage people to keep it simple, hit that easy button, talk to people in your personal network, whether it's family and friends. I also encourage people to look at people they have worked with in the past, former employees or employers, not just somebody that they're connected with on LinkedIn. So also a really good contact could be previous degree programs and colleges that you've worked with. They may know who's hiring. A lot of times industry professionals will come to a certain college or technical school to recruit from that pool, and they could have good community contacts. So it doesn't have to be extremely high level or complicated. It doesn't have to be cold calling.
Okay.
All right. Before the interview, just like an interview for a position, you want to do your homework. You want to research a little bit so you're not going in blind and not asking questions that might waste that precious time you have once you get an informational interview with somebody. So you want to have your groundwork in place and research the position as much as you can, and then you can verify that information once you're talking to somebody. A real helpful website, and not the only one, of course, is ONET, and it's a jobs database that can give you not just a description of the job, but it actually goes into extreme detail with subsets of the physical requirements, the cognitive requirements, what percentage of the time you're doing different duties, what transferable skills apply to that position. So it's actually very informative and very in-depth. I recommend not asking a question that's like a yes or no or a right or wrong type question. The open-ended questions can give you a lot more information. It gives that interviewee the freedom to expound on something and give you more broad information. So making the first contact, and please feel free to interrupt me at any time if you want to talk about
Okay. I'm actually
that particular.
just taking some notes.
Oh yeah, well also, especially since it's one-on-one, we can talk very openly and freely. I can give you any information you want afterwards. We can email. So don't feel stressed like you have to copy everything quickly. We're also recording our session, so if you wanted to go back and look at any of those topics, you'd be able to do that.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I don't feel like you have to frantically write. So making the first contact, that can be a little intimidating depending on your temperament or personality. I I remind people of the basics, and it may seem very elementary. However, you'd be surprised how often people forget to address somebody by name, you know, tell them how you were referred to them, and ask them specifically about, could you have time to talk, you know, 15 to 20 minutes. So you want this first contact to be quite specific and respectful of their time. Now, I've heard people say 20 to 30 minutes. I tend to say 15 to 20, which might sound like we're splitting hairs, but people are busy. And once they realize you're not asking for a job and you're letting them know you want to explore a certain career field, they tend to relax and get a little more open. Sometimes they may say, I've got 15 minutes right now. So when you do make that first contact, you want to be ready with the questions that you'd like to ask, just in case they say, hey, let's go right now. Let's see. And I've got a sample phone script. Obviously, it could be translated to email. And just stating who you are, what you're currently doing, letting them know, as I said, how you were referred to them, explaining that you're interested in exploring a certain field, and want to, again, have that specific time frame of when it will be convenient for them.
Okay.
I use some Game of Thrones names in here. I don't know if you watched that show.
I don't. I know which show you're talking about, but no, I never really picked up.
Well, you know, some of these get a little dry. You try to mix it up. All right. So during the interview, this is sort of a pro tips that may seem like very common knowledge, but when people get nervous or intimidated, they may start sharing too much, talking too much, and I really encourage everybody to remember the art of listening. As we mentioned before, those open-ended questions allow for that free-flowing, natural conversation. You want this to be relaxed, so you want to, you know, make sure you're really listening, actively listening, responding to what they say. Don't just blurt out your next question. So it's okay. Perhaps y'all might start talking about something that's a tangent, you know, not exactly on that career field. Maybe they went to the same school you did, or were in the same branch of military service as someone was. But that's perfect. That gets a more relaxed and a natural conversation going. And you may not, some people feel pressure, like, oh, I've got to get every single question I have on my paper answered. But if it's getting to that time frame that y'all had discussed, you want to respect their time. So perhaps there's a few questions you don't get to, but you can always follow up, or make a comment like, oh, I realize we're getting to that 15-minute mark. Are you okay to keep talking, or would you like to just communicate via email? Again, just showing that courtesy and respect for their busy schedule. I think people tend to be more relaxed and open up when they hear that you're treating them professionally and with consideration. So these are some broad questions that are examples. You'd be surprised how much people really do enjoy talking about their path that led them to where they are. It's kind of fun to reminisce and look back and think about what they had to do to get where they are. So I tend to lead with that type of question, asking about their day. You can read job descriptions on the internet all day long, but that doesn't always tell you what a typical day is like in terms of the percentage of time that they're performing these different tasks or assignments. Another really important one is asking what employers are looking for right now, because as we mentioned, certain industries and careers will evolve. So the skills and education and experience that once proved sufficient to get in a certain position may not hold true today. One example might be accounting. I know 15 years ago, if you had a bachelor's in accounting, you were good to go for a lot of different positions, even mid-level positions. Now, folks want that master's and they want the CPA certification to get even what some might consider more entry-level positions in accounting. So it's good to know from their experience how that has changed and what's current. Again, that leads into the next area of current prospects and future trends. Some fields may be phasing out certain positions because technology has changed, or just the way services are offered. There used to be a lot of positions of administrative assistants and secretaries, but if you think about it, we can all do data processing now. And I feel like a lot of those positions got eliminated because we tend to do more of our own administrative and all of our clerical data processing tasks. So that's true for other fields. All right, now this slide is just geared towards if you're targeting a specific company. I get a lot of people that say, man, I want to work for Amazon, or I want to work for the federal government. Help me get in there. So you can set up an informational interview with a specific company and position in mind. And these are some more specific questions that you may want to add in there, such as what's their corporate culture and turnover. I think they really enjoy talking about their competitors and what makes them stand out, and what makes them the better company to work for. You know, that tends to open up people who want to sell their company, sell their brand and their culture. And then at the end, you can also talk about current plans for growth and diversification. They may be expanding, they may be adding other divisions, there might be takeovers. They also might be initiating, this is something I want to add to my slides, they might be initiating new internships or targeting certain populations that they want to hire, certain initiatives to hire military spouses or people just coming out of school from certain degrees. So that's a nice way to explore what they're about to initiate and see where you might fit into that. I'm a huge fan of internships and those training programs.
I know that's what I'm trying to get at.
Pardon, you're trying to pursue something?
Yeah. I'm trying to get an internship, yes, before I retire.
Oh, great. Is it in something related to what you've done or something new?
No, I'm doing it through hire heroes. So just waiting for them, I guess, to see if they can match me with a company.
Okay.
How to do the fellowship.
Sure.
But right now I'm just kind of on the waiting status. Okay.
Well, just to let you know, we don't compete with them. We could, and again, we can talk more after I finish this, but we could be another tool in your toolbox, another organization to complement the research and the services they're providing to you. So it's not like it would be exclusive. We'd be happy to try to find some opportunities in that arena as well.
Okay, no,
so
definitely. I'm actually open up to every opportunity that I said they are available for transition service members, not just, sticking with one of them.
Okay, great. Yeah, a lot of people think it's, you can't count somebody as your success story at your client, and I think I throw that out the window. PVA and PAVE is completely open to sharing resources with anybody. We don't care who you're working with. We're all in it for the same reason, is to help the veteran find the best match for them. So, all right, we are winding up, and as in anything, whether it's sports or employment, you want to follow through, thanking them for their specific input and time, follow up with an email. And then you want to take stock of what you've learned. You don't want to say, okay, that was interesting. You want to think, what are some specific action that I can take after learning what I've heard today? You may have learned a lot, like, I do not want to do that. It's going to take me 20 years to get in that. It's too competitive. Or you may find out things are changing, they're downsizing. Or you may think this is exactly what I want, and I want to research and sign up for this certification and get that internship. So whatever it is, you want to act on this information, I believe, in a timely manner, with short-term, mid-term, long-term goals. Keep track of who you talked with, when you talked with them. That's an important tool in networking for anything. Say, you know what? You and I talked back in February about this, and you were telling me blah, blah, blah. That's going to help you maintain that networking contact instead of just not remembering them, not remembering what the conversation was about. So you do want to stay organized with all this good information you're learning. All right. So that is a broad overview that I've got today. I mentioned to you earlier that we're going to have sessions recorded. You can register for new sessions. If you look on the slide deck right there, it shows you our website. It tells you my information. So you can follow up with me directly. We do have a voc rehab counselor for PAVE in Richmond, Virginia. And of course, we have our headquarters in DC. So if you felt comfortable, or more comfortable, I should say, working with somebody closer to where you are, we can arrange for that as well. But it's a completely free service. There's no red tape. There's no application. It's very easy to access. Like I said, no red tape.
Well, I've been working on my resume, and I've been fortunate enough that I have met individuals from different organizations that have taken a look at my resume and have given me some feedback. So I'm able to narrow it down to 2 pages in trying to highlight, some of my skills experienced. So now I just need to find an organization that can, I guess, mirror or accept, what I put into my resume, and see if I'm able to get matched. Because I definitely would like to do an internship, if at all possible, just to get some experience in the civilian sector. All my experience has
civilian.
All my experience has been in the military arena, but I would like to do some civilian experience, by way of internship, if possible.
There are a lot of fellowships, training and internship programs that different companies offer for people that were in the military or transitioning. Some of them can be limited to when you transition out of the military, or if you're in a degree program, but some of them are more open, so we could help you navigate that and narrow that down. Do you mind me asking, there's nobody else on the call except for my assistant director. Do you mind me asking what specific career field you're interested in pursuing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or growing in, I should say.
Yes, been in the military, how you have held several roles and different positions. So I started off as a quartermaster logistic officer, and then the past 10 years, my career took me a different path that I felt that I was better suited to serve the Army as a human resources officer. So I requested a transfer, a branch transfer. So yeah, so exactly 10 years ago, I became an adjutant general officer, and being able to assume human resources leadership type positions. So looking at everything that I had done, I kind of narrowed that into talent management, particularly
Okay.
leadership and training development. I still want to continue to help others improve
Mhm.
themselves and find out what they're passionate about, what they're good at, and then give them, whatever tools necessary for them to become successful. So, and I
Sure.
felt that leadership training development will still allow me to continue to do that. I enjoy, however, um, you know, working with policies, researching and analyzing any type of regulations, any type of policies,
Mhm.
and interpreting them, and then going back and of course, presenting them or briefing them to my supervisors, to my superiors, in a way that they
Mhm.
can understand it as of, hey, why you cannot do this. And it's because it could be a potential, violation of this regulation of
Right.
this policy. Yes.
Right.
So,
So,
and
but
that's
all
kind
of
of
your
like
experience has been related to military and not private sector, you were saying. You'd like to
correct.
transition. Okay.
So
Well,
yes,
yeah, there's definitely a big difference in those two worlds in terms of human resources.